Hello, everyone. This is AJ.
And I'm Mike.
I'm Jay.
And I'm Shane.
And this is the Eternia FOUR. So topic number one. Our first topic today is what do we think of the cast of the new Masters of the Universe live action movie coming from Amazon MGM Studios and Mattel Films as it stands today. And since the release of June 5th, 2026 was announced back in May of 2024, the following casting announcements have been revealed. And I'm going to apologize in advance because some of these names I'm going to struggle pronouncing. Actor Nicholas Galitzine as Prince Adam / He-Man. Camila Mendes as Teela. Jared Leto as Skeletor and maybe Keldor. Alison Brie as Evil Lynn. Idris Elba as Man-at-Arms. Sam C. Wilson as Trapjaw. Hafor Julius Bjornsson as Goatman. Koyo Akta as Triclops. Morena Baccarin, and I should know this because she was in Deadpool, as the Sorceress. Johannes Hakor Johansson as Fisto. James Purefoy as King Randor. Charlotte Riley as Queen Marlena. Zhonzu Zhang as Ram Man. And Arun Basi as Pig Boy. And the casting announcements are probably not done yet. So as it stands today, what do you think are the strengths and weaknesses of the cast? Your favorites and not so favorites, if any. And I'm going to start with Jay.
What? We're starting with me?
Yes, we're starting with you.
You're barking the wrong tree here, AJ.
All right, I start with Mike.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking, but I mean, my opinion of this movie has I haven't been quiet about my opinion of this movie. So I'm still very much in the opinion that I'll still believe it when I see it, but I'm starting to believe a little bit more now than I was 4 months ago, 6 months ago. Honestly, I think that seeing is finally believing, right? I think that after all the admittedly the doubt that I've had over the past year, finally seeing some results from Galitzine and Mendes and the cast, Leto. There's obviously work being done behind the scenes, and now with the leaked photos that you can find on Eternia.com, for Eternia.com, the video that's actually been available. I watched the whole video today. I was actually quite surprised and very surprised as Mike mentioned on an Instagram post. Everyone thought it was apparently these guys thought it was Stargate Atlantis, but it's definitely not Atlantis. I mean, Atlantis doesn't have big teeth, like whale teeth in the middle of a vast, green screen ocean. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And of course, Mike, when I saw the map of Eternia, I was like, what the hell? Like that was something else. I think I'm jumping ahead right now. Okay, so this is what happens when you have a podcast at first podcast. Anyway, let's dial this back because I'm jumping ahead here. I like most of the cast. I do. The thing is that, and I haven't been shy about this. I'm just that kind of guy. I am that kind of guy. I'm having a hard time. Basically, I suppose what really bugs me, if there's anything that really bugs me, it's got to be why Goatman instead of Beastman. I think that is my biggest hiccup right now. I think that I don't understand why. I mean, I know this is their own film. I know that they're trying to make an identity for themselves. I get that, but if you and I know that
I want to stop you right there.
Sure,
they did see Beastman at the CinemaCon footage.
That's fine, but has has he been cast? Right?
It might be computer generated.
But even then, you still have a voice cast, right? You still need to announce who is voicing Beastman, right?
Fair.
I mean, it would be a the thing is that, okay, I understand. Nicholas has gone on to say that this is going to be a different master universe than what we've seen before. We're trying to create our own identity, this and that, which is fine. I'm totally on board with that. I truly believe that you need new audiences to buy into this whole idea, right? But the reality is that it's always nice to be recognized as the original fans, because up until today, you're creating new fans, through Revolution, through the Revelation, through Netflix Prime. You know what I mean, with the CG series, right? Those are really good. I enjoyed the CG series. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. So there is a service that you need to, or at least you should acknowledge, right? So them bringing in Beastman again and finally acknowledging that he's in the movie. That's great. It's just really surprising, and it could just be part of the advertising strategy, right? Many a time, and I keep saying this, and people are kind of like they roll their eyes when I say this now. The first Sonic that was released on trailers, that was planned. Okay, I am fully 100% belief that they put out that Sonic to piss people off, and the reason they did that was because by pissing people off so much, the investors and the studios and Sega themselves, they said, holy crap, people want to see this movie now, right? Because everybody got upset. Everybody was so dejected by what they saw with this mutated, please kill me version of Sonic. You know what I mean? The dude looks like he was suffering on screen. You know what I mean? He literally looked like he was melting. It was absolutely crazy. And so, and then when they finally released the real Sonic, right, about 6 months later, everyone was like, oh, finally, and everybody wanted to see this movie, right? And you know what? The first pictures that were leaked of Master Universe, you can't tell me that the person was right there. They were in the studio, they were taking photos, and all of the memes that have ever been made of Master Universe, conveniently they made them. The laughing Prince Adam, all that kind of stuff.
They just happened to catch him going like this, laughing.
It's just like, it's so convenient, right? That it's a way to really get the fans on board, but at the same time, it's also to bring up the ire of fans. Like when I put out that video, people were so upset, and you know what? It's such a polarizing situation right now, right? But let me tell you, and I'll tell you this right now: the first shot that we actually get to see of Battle Cat, other than the freaking privileged who got to see it at this film festival, a week ago, once we see Battle Cat, I think people are going to lose their minds. Okay, I think that once Battle Cat is actually seen on screen, everyone's going to say, holy crap, I got to see this freaking movie. You know what I mean? That's probably what's going to happen. I'm still reserved. I don't know what's going to happen. But then if I really had to say something, other than that, I adore Idris Elba. He's every role he's ever taken on, he literally slays it. He slays every single role. And I'm looking very much forward to watching his performance. Here's the only thing, and take this as you will. I have always had a hard time separating myself on this level, because for 40 plus years, I've always known Duncan as, having a red mustache, red hair. You know what I mean? I've always known Duncan as that. So I'm very much looking forward to Idris Elba taking on this role, but it's still, Alan Oppenheimer is still going to be my, you know what I mean? He's still going to be Duncan to me. Duncan is still going to be Duncan. You know what I mean? Even the 87 movie, I believed that was Duncan. You know what I mean? When I saw him on screen. So once I see, because there have been CGI, AI generated versions of Idris Elba, I have to see him in the Eternian armor. I have to see it. You know what I think once we start seeing the costume test shots, I think people are gonna start losing their minds, and I think that's really what. The other part of the cast, Thor. I couldn't pronounce his name to save my life either. Again, Goatman. I'm just so perplexed with that. Trapjaw, yeah, for sure. Randor, abso-freaking-lutely. Queen, the sorceress, Queen Marlena. I don't have they. Yeah, like I think that all of them are wonderful choices. But at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see how they work this out.
So who are you going to bounce
Shane?
You talking to me? So I've got sort of similar feelings around some of the cast. Like, we'll sort of start with Jared Leto. Love 30 Seconds to Mars. Can listen to it every day. He has been killing franchises of late, it feels like, not to put it too harshly. But I'm really interested to see what he'll do. Alison Brie, I love her. I'm just really curious what she is going to do as Evelyn. Like, I loved her in Community. I loved her in Glow. I'm just really curious to see what happens when she gets in that costume and takes on that role. Same with Nick. What's his name? Galtzine? Is He-Man. I like the look that I'm seeing in these released photos. I just don't know enough about him to really know how I feel about him as the lead character. I'm very hopeful. Again, I think the things that I've seen look really great. The stuff that I love is, of course, Idris Elba. I mean, like, I'm shocked that they got him in the first place, just because, again, he's so huge, he's so awesome, and I think he's going to bring a lot of eyeballs that maybe wouldn't have been on this movie to the movie, and that's even coming from like kids and Sonic fans. Like, I think that people love Idris Elba, and I think he's just going to lend so much to this film. Bjornsson as Goatman, I do agree, Jay. Like, why Goatman? We obviously had him in the Revelation show. I saw that somebody got cast as Pig Boy. I don't know if that was an April Fool's or what. I haven't seen much about it since, but like, we had Goatman and Pig Boy in the show. We talked about Goatman and Pig Boy more than I have ever talked about Goatman and Pig Boy. And then you fast forward and they're in this live action movie. I find it interesting, but I'm curious to see where they go. I love that they're going to put Ram Man in there. He's my favorite character. So I'm really excited to see that. And then the sorceress, Marina Bassarin from Deadpool. I'm really stoked on her. I think that she is a phenomenal actress. I think that the sorceress obviously is a pivotal role. And I think that she's going to bring just a lot of legitimacy and a lot of, really good, endearing qualities to the role. And I'm excited. I will be honest, like, the pictures that we're seeing on Earth, I'm really curious what is going on there. Obviously, the 80s movie had a large chunk of its plot in Earth, and people have mixed feelings about that. So I'm really curious to see where that sort of goes. But time will tell. Like you said, Jay, I'm really, really, really curious to see what Battle Cat looks like. If they do have Beastman, that would be really radical. I'm excited, though.
So you're going to pass it off to?
Is it?
Pass it off.
I guess that's me, right?
Or me. I get thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to save the best for last, and we're going to go for Mr. Mike.
All right.
Wow. I got a lot to live up to.
Yeah. Well, you read off all those names so wonderfully.
Yeah, at least you got all the names there, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with both what Shane and Jay are saying. I'm excited. I have a lot of curiosity. In recent memory, I cannot think of a place I wish I would have been at CinemaCon 2025 to see what those people saw. The fact that they showed Idris Elba in his costume, they showed Evelyn in her costume, they showed these concepts of Battle Cat, they showed Jared Leto, except his face. But I watched probably a dozen YouTube people talking about it because I just couldn't get enough. And they're saying if you're a fan of the cartoon, if you're a fan of the traditional looks, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. So that gave me a lot of high hopes that we're going to see them kind of true to form of what, I'm not too worried about the race swapping and all that. I want to see them the way they look in their costume. Like I saw actually Jay on your video showing the AI Idris Elba in the Man at Arms, and it looked amazing. And I'm like, I so can't wait to see that on a big screen. when Leto was cast, did I throw out a bunch of hate? Of course I did. You know, like Shane said, he's killed franchises. You know, I was excited to see him as Morbius. It was terrible. I was excited to see him as Joker. It was terrible. It's like, you know, so the only thing I can say is I saw a video of him recently. I guess he was over in London. I forget who was interviewing him, but he said that he has been a long time Masters of the Universe fan. Although I don't know if he says this about every role he takes, but he said that he really feels the pressure and expectation coming with the role of Skeletor. You know, other than, wow, now I'm blanking. Frank Langella in '87, we haven't really seen a live action Skeletor, especially blue and traditional to the almost the look of the cartoon. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see what kind of performance he brings to that. I'm hopeful, but, you know, cautious. Another strength I would say is having Nick. When Nick was cast, Nicholas was cast as He-Man, I had my reservations. It's like, who's this scrawny little kid? But he did the work. I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
It's better than, you know, if they were like, oh, here's Zac Efron as He-Man, or here's Channing Tatum as He-Man. Like, I would only see them. I wouldn't see He-Man. Nicholas, I think, was just unknown enough to where I can see this character and not the actor. So that was a big thing for me. Yeah, other than that, you know, what's her name? Camila is super hot, and she's Tila, and that's perfect. Allison, I think, will do a great job with Evelyn. She's got that look to her. Again, I can't wait to see more from what's going to happen. I'm digging all these little set photos. That's why I've been posting everything. You know, I apologize for everyone on Instagram that I'm posting all these spoilers and behind the scenes, but I can't honestly get enough of it. I'm with Jay, where I have been living in disbelief for the past 25, 30 years that this would ever happen. And I'll be sitting there watching it on the screen, probably like, wow, I still can't believe this is happening. But yeah, I'm very excited. And AJ, what are your thoughts?
Well, first, Shane, you made me nervous, so I looked it up. Pig Boy, the announcement came on April 3rd, not on April 1st. It wasn't a April Fool's joke, and, you know, he's got a note from the studio just like everybody else, and he's got an action figure that all the heroic, well, maybe not the heroic warriors, but all the evil warriors got, right? And, you know, Jay, you mentioned Battle Cat. You know, made me think, I wonder if we're actually going to get a casting for Battle Cat. Is it Battle Cat going to be voiceless like the 2000X show, or is it going to be like the Filmation show where he talks, or Revolution?
Good question.
Yeah, I hope he talks. I'm a talker because I'm a big fan of the 1983 Filmation series, which will start off my thoughts because my thoughts in regards to the strengths and weaknesses of the cast starts with Nicholas Galitzine. First, hats off to that man. I originally, when he was cast, I really thought he was going to be the scrawny Prince Adam. You know, the Adam we see in 2000X, the Adam we see in the Mike Young series, if no one knows what 2000X means, so 2002 series. And we got a scrawny Prince Adam in the Masters of the Universe Revelation and Revolution series. And that's the way I thought they were going to go. Never in my wildest dreams did I think we were going to see pictures of Nick on set. If that was intentional or not, Jay, I don't know. But in his, you know, in Prince Adam pink and a white undershirt, and by Zor, does he look like Prince Adam from the Filmation cartoon He-Man and the Masters of the Universe? And I am stoked. Recently posted something on social media that's saying Filmation fans out there have a bounce in their step ever since they've seen those pictures. It's true, because I have a bounce in my step. He looks like the Filmation Prince Adam, or the vintage Prince Adam, if you want to say that muscled look. You know, the idea that the only thing that separates Prince Adam and He-Man is a tan. Otherwise, they have the same build, the same hair, and suspension of disbelief, as they say, like Clark Kent with the glasses and becoming Superman. Not everyone might like that Prince Adam look, but I love it. As a fan of the 1983 Filmation days, Nick looks exactly like the cartoon. If it was intentional or not, Jay, throwing his head back and laughing, he looks like the cartoon. Stern face, he looks like the cartoon. A sneering face, he looks like the cartoon. So excited about his casting. I'm also excited about Camila Mendes as Tila, the captain of the guards. I wouldn't have pegged her. Be honest with you, I would have pegged this other actress on. Camila was on the show called Riverdale, which was like a remake of the Archie comics. Yeah, the Archie comics. A co-star with Camila was this woman named Madeline Petch. I can't pronounce her name. A true natural redhead. I think she played a villain named Cheryl Blossom, and she was like spot on for like Filmation Tila. But I tell you, looking at Camila, looking at her body type, looking at the way she handles herself, looking after she dyed her hair red, I think she's like the perfect 2000X Tila, the perfect Mike Young Tila. The more athletic one than the Filmation cartoon. That's really like fighting toe to toe and against these evil warriors. And I think she is actually going to be great. I didn't feel that way at first, but I'm convinced now. Idris Elba, I'm kind of with you guys. That was a fantastic casting. He has so much gravitas. He's so good in everything. So I have no doubt he's going to be good in this. Who's also I'm excited about? I'm going to have to look up his name because I can't pronounce it. Johannes Hakor Johansson. Fisto, right? Now, when I looked at him, I'm like, this is Fisto? But I don't know if you guys saw, I might have been the only one who saw Captain America, Brave New World. Okay.
I watched it.
You watched it. I kind of enjoyed the film. It was pretty good. I mean, it's not one of the best ones, but I didn't hate it like a lot of people hated it. But he played this villain called Copperhead. He was in it for 5 minutes, but boy, did he have charisma. He had charm. And once I watched that, I'm like, this guy's going to be a good Fisto. Because he can light up a screen when he's on it. And he has a little bit of arrogance about him. And I think he's going to be great. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that. Sam C. Wilson. Sam C. Wilson? Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. As Trapjaw. I don't know, but his eyes kind of like, has unique eyes. They kind of like are a little popped out of his skull, and I'm just imagining his face painted green with green skin and with his eyes either white or yellow, like in the Filmation cartoon it was a white, yellow on like your vintage action figure. I think he's going to look great. I can just imagine that face with the jaw. Rest of the cast, Charlotte Riley, I think she's going to be a good Queen Marlena. Guys, she's married to Tom Hardy, so I don't know if we're going to get a
oh wow,
Tom Hardy.
I wasn't familiar with who she was. I don't know her. I just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, she's been acting for a long time. She's English, so she knows all about royalty. But so she's playing her queen, or our queen, his queen, their queen. Weaknesses. Well, let me not call them weaknesses. Let me just call them concerns. And one is controversial and one isn't. Okay. And let's start with Jared Leto, who isn't controversial to say it's a concern. But, I wonder, for starting with Jared Leto, guys, I think he might be getting a bad rap in the essence of, if you guys go back to Suicide Squad before it came out, everyone was excited that Jared Leto got cast as Joker. No one thought it was a bad choice. He had just won an Academy Award. Everyone got good vibes from him. And they were stoked about this casting choice. But then we saw the imagery, right? We saw this gangster Joker with the teeth grill on his teeth. We saw the word damaged tattooed to his forehead. And by the way, if you're damaged, you don't get it tattooed on your forehead. I mean, you don't need to advertise. I'm crazy. You just tattoo that on your forehead. I mean, but those were silly, crazy directorial choices, right? But for some reason, Leto became part of the joke. And And then Morpheus, what is it? Morbius. I didn't see that movie, but I guess it didn't help either. But I think the tides turned with Joker. And I'm just wondering if it was completely fair, because most of that was directorial choices. He is a very good actor. He is eccentric, but so is Skeletor. Skeletor is very eccentric, very unique. You go to Filmation, you go to 2000X. Maybe Jared Leto could turn out, dare I say, the star of the show, the surprise of the show, that he could turn out to be a perfect Skeletor and Keldor. I don't know if any of you guys saw this, but I went ahead and painted when he was cast, painted him blue digitally, right? And showed him as Keldor. And he really looked like a good looking Keldor. He looked like, from what we saw in the comics and in the 2000X show. So he might be perfectly cast. So fingers crossed. And then finally, my controversial pick for biggest concern, not weakness, but concern, is Alison Brie. I love Alison Brie, and she's playing Evil Lynn. And but I'm wondering if she's too wholesome for Evil Lynn. I mean, she's great in Community. I loved her in Glow. I don't know if you guys watched Glow. Okay, Shane, you did, yeah. And she played a villain in The Ring called Zoya the Destroyer. And she was Russian. But even then, as you watched her being villainous as the evil Russian, and I get it, it's a Ring, it's kind of tongue in cheek. She still just looked nice and sweet and innocent. And if I look at her compared to Lena Headey, Lena Headey has that sort of, I know she voiced it in Masters of the Universe Revolution, but her physical look was really imposing, really scary. So I could see Lena Headey as an evil warrior. I'm having trouble looking at cute Alison Brie as an evil villain, a believable evil villain where she's actually embodying Evil Lynn versus just doing a performance. So I'm a little concerned, but we'll see. That's my thoughts, at least, guys, on the cast.
I love it. I guess a couple points on everything that everybody said. Jay, the comments about the original Sonic are hilarious. And I had never really put that all together, and I feel like that has to be right, because who approved that design and let that get out into the world? Like, I feel like you have to be right. Mike, your whole point about Nicholas as He-Man, like, again, didn't really think about it like that. And I'm like, yeah, I can just look at the character and not worry about seeing the actor. I thought that was a really good point. And then obviously AJ, like, completely agree with Alison Brie. I love her, but like, she is very wholesome and very like, sort of girl next door vibe to her. And I'm really curious to see how she pulls off the evil of Lynn.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one, right? I mean, if she doesn't come through with that, it's going to be really disappointing.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with the cast itself. I mean, like the problem is that I don't really watch movies these days. I think that's really my biggest problem. I mean, like half of the people who are on this cast I don't actually know. I mean, like obviously from Deadpool, we know the actors from there. You know what I mean? We know, like, I only figured out who Galitzine was because he was running on like these Netflix commercials forever as this, having an affair with freaking Catwoman. There was a movie where they're doing like a younger man, older woman kind of situation.
Yeah,
he's like a pop star. She's like a socialite.
Idea of You.
Yeah, something like that. That one, right?
Yeah.
That was what that was the only time I saw, and he was skinny as F, right? So for me, I was like, that's gonna be He-Man. I'm like, oh man, that's weird, right? But people work out. I was like, okay, maybe it's gonna be a leaner He-Man. Maybe it's gonna be more like New Adventures He-Man. You know what I mean? Like there was that kind of thought process that was going through people's heads, right? And then Leto, right? Now, I actually didn't mind him as the Joker. I thought it was a different take. I thought it was kind of weird. And actually, I enjoyed his portrayal in Justice League. The I guess they were like in the original theatrical cut, he was pretty much they sort of just edited all those mini scenes out, right? But the The ones that they put back in for the director's cut, right? For the Snyder cut, I thought those were brilliant. I thought that, you know what, that really was a great performance from you know, like just seeing two sides of the opposite, you know, from Ben Affleck's Batman and his Joker. I was like, yeah, you can see that these two have history, right? And obviously, you know, we know more about Robin now than we ever should have known. And of course, now we know why there was spray paint on Batman v Superman, right? Why Robin's suit was completely covered with ha ha ha, right? We know the history behind that now. But I've never seen Morbius because people just told me it's absolutely horrid. So I saw it from the commercials, so I was like, okay, whatever. And now he's in Tron Ares, so that's interesting.
I think he plays a villain though in that one, an AI villain, I think.
Okay,
so that'll be better, right? As a villain,
he might be Ares. We don't know, right? Again, it's hard to tell at this point. But yeah, you know, he keeps getting the roles, so obviously he's doing something right. So I guess we'll see how that goes. And
you win an Oscar, they keep asking. That's what it is.
That only goes so far, right? I mean, like there are people who won Oscars, and if too many bombs, and you eventually they eventually stop calling.
And the correct way to pronounce his name is Leto, right? Am I the only one saying Leto? I just always said Leto.
Leto.
I've always said Leto.
And you can't spell Skeletor without Leto.
Right.
That's true. That is
true. It's fate. It's fate.
Yeah, but Mike's comment was actually really poignant, actually, because I think it was at the Brits or something like that, and I think he was being interviewed, and they asked him about what are you doing in London, and he said, oh, I'm here for the Master Universe film, and then they said, oh, you know, how's that going? He said, oh, I've always been a fan of Master Universe, and the thing is that I had the other day my best friend and I. We were like, how old is Jared Leto? And we were shocked to realize he's actually older than all of us. And I was like, holy crap, he's 53. He's 53 years old. And I was like, okay, that tracks.
He looks good.
Tracks. If he's 53, that means he could have theoretically enjoyed Master Universe. You know what I mean? Like, he would have been a really old kid. I think he would have been in his almost his teenager.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if it started in 82, so he was just becoming a teenager, I guess, right?
Yeah. So he can still enjoy it, you know, in the closet or whatever. I mean, like, you know, around that time, you're supposed to, like the rest of us, we were supposed to abandon cartoons, but we didn't. But, you know, he could have been one of those guys. He could have been one of those guys.
All right. Topic 2. I'm going to go ahead and just read this. Our second topic is, can Motu be the next superhero cinematic universe? Tila actress Camila Mendez took a small break from filming her new movie, Masters of the Universe, to recently push her new film, Idiaka?
Yeah.
To push her new film. Okay. She spoke with Collider about the new Masters of the Universe film and says it feels special because it doesn't have the same fan base as Marvel or DC and feels like a fresh superhero universe. So, do you think Motu is primed to be the next cinematic superhero universe with connected spin-off movies, shows, all the trimmings, and can it be successful? Let's start. Shane, let's go ahead and start with you. What do you think?
Well, would I love it to be? Absolutely. Do I think it could be? I do think it could be. Do I think it will be? I don't. And that is not for a lack of obviously loving the IP. I may be a little jaded. I was hopeful that the show that we made at Powerhouse was going to help reignite some He-Man and bring it to a new crowd and all the fun stuff that you hope for when you're doing something like that, especially an IP like this that, you know, they have fed some He-Man to us sporadically over the years. And you want to be the thing that's like, oh my gosh, this is the next Marvel or something like that. I do think, you know, we talked about Idris Elba earlier. Like, I do think that they have a lot of good working in their favor. I just wonder in our current place in movie history if people are burnt out on cinematic universes, where those things are headed, how hungry are new fans, young fans, for sword and sorcery mixed with technology. I'm just really curious to kind of see what this movie does for the IP and where it can take it. Again, I'm super hopeful. I am hoping that it is going to meet everyone's expectations. But again, having come from something that I was very hopeful, I got to see both sides of our fandom as well. And man, some people have opinions on things. So that's my stance on it. I'm going to throw it to Jay.
Oh boy. Okay. So as always, I haven't been shy about voicing my opinions about the movie and my thoughts about it. The byline did not catch me at all. I mean, like, I'm a staunch supporter of the '87 movie. I will fight anybody on it being the greatest kids movie, of the time for me. I absolutely loved, and I still love it. I have a Laserdisc, the DVDs. I have everything I can get my hands on. But a fish out of water story again. I mean, like they keep talking about how they want to create their own identity, that they want this to be a brand new film for the kids of the '80s and for the kids of the kids of today and stuff, right? And I get that. I'm the same. We're all kids of the '80s, right? We love the Never-Ending Story, which again, it lived in two different worlds. It lived in the real world, but it also lived in a fantasy world, right? And they successfully made that into freaking magic, right? I'm hoping for much the same here. I really am. But to say if it's going to be the next Marvel Cinematic Universe, absolutely not. I just, not that I have and I've said this a bunch of times already, but I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel now. But I just can't see this generation really embracing fantasy the way we did. I think that if you're looking for stuff like League of Legends, right, like video games and video game fantasy and stuff like that, I think that it's easier for that to be consumed by today's generation. Something which they have to sit in the theater for 2.5 hours, or I guess this would be 90 minutes to 2 hours. I don't know. I'm not sure they have the type of attention span that's required for that, unless they know implicitly every single character. And I think that is probably. I think that big budget films are great, but for something like Master Universe, which is just a celebrated property, it needs a television series to really give it the respect it needs. You know what I mean? You need to understand who these characters are. You need to introduce them. You need to drip feed people, and get them to do it. That way. And the Netflix revelation and revolution, I really wanted that to be the next jumping point for Master Universe. That's what I thought that it should be. And people just got so hung up on Tila, and I don't understand why. I mean, ever since that PowerCon where they revealed the whole plot of the series, right? It wasn't a surprise. We already knew that Tila was going to be the lead in that, and I felt that was okay. I thought that was going to be all right, and I knew eventually He-Man would show up. I mean, it's called Masters of the Universe, right? But Tila has her own destiny, and I was really hoping to see a little bit more of that. But it is what it is. Kevin Smith, the shock jock that he is, he fed into that idea, and unfortunately, people just did not resonate with that, right? So it was just one of those things where there was an opportunity to do something, and unfortunately, because of the internet, because the internet's going to internet, right? We lost an opportunity for another great Master Universe series. But what we got in the end was not bad. You know what I mean? The way it ended, the way they bookended it and finished it off, I thought was awesome. You know what I mean? I was very happy with the ending, and I'm hoping by some measure that we'll get another chance at it. I don't know, right? Because I think the team over at Netflix did their best, and I hope for the best. For this movie, it'll take a lot. Like, it'll take a lot for it to be the next cinematic universe. Is it possible? Maybe. I don't know. Again, the byline just doesn't really give me a lot of faith. But maybe I'm not the target audience. I think that has to be considered a lot too. Maybe this is another one of those things where they're trying their best to reach a wider audience with a wider net. But it's hard to take a property that has existed for 40 years and make it into something new. That is a hard thing, because the people who are in love with it now are going to judge it on that level, unfortunately. And the people who are just getting into it are also thusly going to judge it, because they know that the internet's there. They know that it's a 40-year-old property. And they're going to start by saying, I'm watching a 40-year-old property, right? Instead of saying, all right, this is a brand new movie from nowhere, right? And again, it's hard. It really is hard. And you can make the same argument for Marvel, right? Marvel is 80 years old, getting on to 90 now, right? So why did it succeed? Well, you know what? It started off really slowly, and Iron Man had the right actors, they had the right script, they had the right director, and everything. It just made magic. And I'm hoping for the best. Even though I still have a hard time seeing it, I'm hoping for the best that this was probably going to go on the same route. That would be awesome. Back to Mike.
So I'm going to just kind of piggyback off what you were saying, Jay, with the fantasy thing. I think that's the biggest thing that I see of why this probably will not be a cinematic universe. Fantasy is just not in the forefront in the way it was in the 80s. Kids, don't Dungeons and Dragons and all that. It's there, but it's not as a prevalent, thank you, Stranger Things, for bringing that kind of back. It's these kind of shows that are slowly bringing it back. Maybe by the time next year, maybe it'll be a little bit. I mean, I want to take baby steps. I mean, A, we're getting a movie, first off. B, I would love a sequel. Just give me a sequel. If it happens to go into spin-offs, things like that, I would be ecstatic, but realistically, it took us this long just to get one movie. Do I see it being a cinematic universe? Do I see today's audience? I was watching those YouTube videos, and these guys are like, yeah, and they showed Lockjaw and the Empress, and I'm like, oh my God, like, this is the general public going to see this movie, and these guys are talking about the movie as a review. It's like, you didn't even do some research before you started doing your review to know the characters' names. So it's, my hopes aren't high in that sense of it becoming this global phenomenon and blowing up to a Marvel proportion. Marvel had that. Everyone knows Iron Man, everyone knows Hulk, everyone knows Captain America. And then for them to each get their own movie and then come together, there was so much hype about that. There's not going to be like a He-Man movie and a Masters and a Man at Arms movie and a Ram Man movie and then have them all come together. Like, it's just not going to happen. Would I love to see a Ram Man spinoff with I can't even pronounce his name, the Zhao, right? Zhao. I would. I think that would be amazing. Yeah. I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. AJ, what about you? What are your thoughts?
First, I love that Lockjaw. Is that what you get with tetanus? Right? You get Lockjaw. I love that.
And I think Lockjaw, isn't that the name of the dog of the Inhumans?
Oh, yeah, that big.
And then Empress is Suicide Squad's enemy, I thought, right? That's her name.
Yeah.
Or Enchantress.
Yeah. All right. So my thoughts. Camellia, oh, bless her heart. Look, would I love if the Masters of the Universe movie became a cinematic universe, the next cinematic universe? Yes, I would love it. Do I think it'd be successful? No. I mean, look, nothing would make me happier if Motu became the new MCU, we get a new Fisto movie, we get a new, Stratos movie. Oh, how cool is that? With all the bird people, buzz off. Everyone gets a movie. It's like Oprah. Everyone gets a car. Everyone gets a movie. Nothing would make me happier enough. But unfortunately, I don't think the Motu characters, even though I love them all, are strong enough on their own, except one exception. I'd sort of equate it to the X-Men franchise, right? Where Avengers and Justice League, they kind of stand more on their own 2 feet. But with X-Men, you got the X-Men movies, and then you got one spin-off, Wolverine. Now, do I love Beast? I love Beast, especially when Kelsey Grammer played Beast. But is he really going to do well with his standalone movie? Or Cyclops, right? Are people going to be going, oh, I can't wait to see a Cyclops movie where he's shooting, I don't think these characters can stand the test on their own. The only one that possibly could stand the test, I think Tila could be our Wolverine, Imagine a Tila's Quest movie, That could really be exciting, or a television series based around Tila. I could see that, and I could see that working, and I could see that being really appealing. But other than that, a Fisto movie, me, it'd be a dream come true. But I just don't think these characters really have that kind of mass appeal to afford the budget. And what is the strength about Motu anyway? It's like the characters. It's like all the beautiful, glorious characters all mixed together. And if we start like separating them, I think it loses some of its charm. And people are going to say, if this character's there, where was this character? And where was this character? Which people do with the Marvel films, but I think would be even worse on Eternia. Spin-off comics, yes, absolutely. Spin-off movies, no. Unfortunately, while it can work, and our proof positive that this can work, gentlemen, is Cobra Kai. Never thought Cobra Kai would turn Karate Kid into one of the hottest properties around. And now we're getting a new Karate Kid movie, even with Ralph Macchio and who is the guy? Jackie Chan. But, I think that's more the exception than the rule. So... Now, even though I love her for saying that, I think if they did something like this, it would probably be successful as, or maybe even worse than Sony's Spider-Verse. So I don't think that's going to happen. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, but you know what? The marketing for the '87 movie was that this is the next Star Wars. I mean, that kind of gives it just gives you the whole marketing shtick. Right, like that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to say these outlandish things to get people to watch the movie. So, yeah. But I think we all share the same sentiment. It would be awesome if it could happen. But as you said, like it would take a lot. I'm sure every single one of these characters can have a journey. You can write anything, right? We can talk about the relationship between Duncan and the sorceress. We can talk about the relationship that. Again, Tila's journey to becoming a sorceress, right? Evelyn's journey, because that was very compelling for Revelation, and then but at the same time, now there's this dilemma: do you forgive somebody who's done something so heinous, basically destroying half the universe? You know what I mean? Like crazy, right? But maybe that's a journey in and of itself, right? I mean, like there's so many different ways to spin characters, but.
I just hope they give us a self-contained story, because nothing's worse than like a cliffhanger and then you get no second movie, right? So hopefully they just focus on telling one story and not look 3 movies ahead,
Yeah.
Well, that's what kind of curiosity with it. My curiosity with it is, they were talking about how this movie is fun and lighthearted, where, if I had that talent to be a Motu director, I would have a dark fantasy technology all over the place. Make it this epic Lord of the Rings style more so than this, Barbie movie kind of what it's sounding like, kind of, fun, lighthearted, but there's
But that's
Motu
kind of what
characters.
Revelation was in a way, right?
True.
That Lord of the Rings style, yeah.
And
Shakespearean.
I hope there's a
sometimes.
third season.
Yeah, Shane, you were gonna say something.
I was gonna say, yeah, I agree. Self-contained movie. The only exception that I'll take to that is a post-credit scene where Jared Leto as Skeletor comes out of the water and he's like, "That's it. That's the only exception I'll make."
I'll be back.
That would
Yeah,
be so good.
That was so good. I always, as a kid, I was like, yeah, I was so excited.
Yeah.
Because you didn't actually stick around in the theater, but when you got it home,
Yeah.
that soundtrack just kept you going, right? So you're as a kid, you just listen to the soundtrack, and then all of a sudden you see, what the hell's this bubbling pool? And then he just pops out. You're like, what the hell? And that was such a tease, but he never came back.
He never did.
He never came back.
Yeah. But couldn't you imagine, like, an Infinity Saga where it leads up to Hordak invading Eternia? If only we were so
I would, the one thing with Despera at the end of Revolution was so good. You know what I mean? Like it basically it just basically give us that one line where you can't cross, right? And it's that funny thing, right? And yeah, like hopefully there's still hope somewhere. Hopefully somebody will pick it up. I mean, it is
talking after Revolution. You're talking,
the third season,
yeah,
right?
okay.
Like I'd like again, like it's a great setup at the end of the day, right? You know what I mean? Like reuniting the worlds, right? That again on that one cliffhanger, because again they'd have to work out the rights, right? No matter what. I mean, it works in comics. Comics you can do whatever you want, right? But you no matter what, DreamWorks and everybody, all these damn rights, right? I mean, the lion's dead, right? Like it was dead like 4 years ago, right? Like,
right.
Like what we're living in a different timeline, guys. The timeline is split. We're in the Infinity Stones were brought back by somebody, so we're living in a different timeline right now. It's not supposed to be happening.
Well, let's not make Shane any more uncomfortable here.
Came out of nowhere and rewrote history. You know what I mean? Like. I'm apparently supposed to read topic number 3. Very well. Here we go. She-Ra, the Princess of Power, recently crossed her 40th year milestone. Happy birthday, She-Ra, to the Princess of Power. But Dave Capper, the director of marketing for Boys Toys. Why are we talking about boys? No, I'm just kidding. But Dave Capper, the director of Boys Toys at Mattel in the 80s, has always insisted that part of He-Man's demise in 1980s was due to the introduction of the She-Ra character. I want to say something I really want to say something with it. Where boys suddenly thought that He-Man just didn't feel as cool when he gained a twin sister. So, how do you feel about the introduction of She-Ra back then, and how have your thoughts changed from then, or if they have at all, until now? I'm going to go with AJ with this one first.
Okay. So, I have to admit, in a slight little way, with a spin, that I'm going to agree with Dave Capper, at least in regards to the way I felt back in 1985. He-Man to me just didn't feel as cool when She-Ra was introduced, but it wasn't because of She-Ra. Now, I went to see the Secret of the Sword movie. I was taken as a kid. My mom dropped me off, left me in that theater, went shopping, but I actually saw it as a little kid, and I was so excited to go see it. But how I framed that it wasn't because of She-Ra, but it was when She-Ra was introduced is, how do I frame this? I should frame this around Orko first. When I was a kid, I didn't really like Orko. I mean, I didn't hate him, but I didn't love him. And be honest with you, wasn't into Masters of the Universe Revelation that I'm personally a big fan of, that I've actually fall in love with Orko. I was that poster child that Kevin Smith was talking about, that, suddenly Orko was metal, right? That he was saying that suddenly people are going to be getting tattoos of Orko on their arm. Now, I don't have a tattoo, but I love him. He was the Gandalf of Masters of the Universe Revelation. Instead of fly you fools fighting the Balrog, he was fighting Scareglow. And suddenly, as an adult, so I'm just so in love with the character now. But back then, I didn't love him, really. And anytime he was on the screen, wanted to get the He-Man, you know? So I really think, and the same thing with, what was his name? Snarf on Thundercats, right? I just didn't love the cutesy or comic relief characters in cartoons. So for me, my fandom was the Filmations cartoons, you know, more than the vintage figures, which I had and I loved. But the Filmation cartoon, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, is the foundation my fandom rests upon, and to some degree still does. And I was such a lover of that show that when the She-Ra Filmation cartoon came out, I already had this feeling of I didn't love comic relief or cutesy characters so much. And that She-Ra Filmation cartoon was full of tons of them. Tons of them. You had Madame Raz. You had her broom, named Broom. Yeah, named Broom. You had Cal, you know, this cute. You have Lookie. Hey, where's Lookie? Hey, everybody. Did you find me today? And geez, even Hordak, you know, the MVP of evil. He had his little buddy Imp, you know? And it was too cutesy wootsy for me. And it actually made He-Man less cool. And it actually started degrading my fandom a little bit in regards to it just wasn't as barbaric as you know, because I love that sword and sorcery feel. I love that barbarian feel from the 1980s, from Beastmaster, from Fire and Ice, from Conan the Barbarian, which I wasn't allowed to watch, or Conan the Destroyer. And this sort of softened it. I love She-Ra herself. She was fantastic. And everything about her was amazing. And she stood toe to toe with He-Man, you know. And one of my favorite episodes, Lookie, what is it? Lookie Finds a Way? I forget. Oh, so, but it was the side characters that really threw me off and really kind of like made He-Man less cool. Now, what was too cutesy for me back then, as I get older, I find it a little more charming now, you know, as I mature. And mature with a small m, mature. But I've warmed up some. So, but yeah, that's pretty much but She-Ra was never the problem. It was just the supporting characters. So let me see. I will pass this off to Mike.
So AJ, I'm actually a little bit with you on that. I never really watched in the way I watched Masters of the Universe, She-Ra Princess of Power. A good example of that is they just dropped, what's his name? Voltec, right? And on the back, it has the episode he's from. And I'm like, I don't remember this episode at all. I barely remember this character. The only reason I actually remember him is from classics. So I actually went on YouTube and watched the episode again. And yeah, it's, you know, Cal getting kidnapped and he falls in love with another Cal and all these little cutesy characters. And bringing that up, I'm like, you know what? You're right. I didn't really care for that as a kid. Now, I did love Orko. One of my favorite pieces I have is unsigned vintage Orko. So Orko's always, he's too weird. I don't know if that makes sense, but he's always been one of my favorites for comic relief. Snarf, I didn't really care for Snarf too much also. The other aspect I would say was why I kind of think She-Ra killed it is the vintage figures packaging. There's some reason where that blue and red rock triggers something in my head where I have to have it. That's the whole reason I started collecting Origins again. I don't collect Masterverse. I didn't collect classics. I was able to keep a bay. But when they came out with Origins and they came out with that packaging that looked like the packaging I had as a kid, something triggered in my head where I had to have it. And when they came out with those vintage She-Ra, it was that pink, very feminine packaging. And I mean, did I have a She-Ra as a kid? Yes, because I loved The Secret of the Sword. That was by far I also saw it in the theater with a couple friends. My friend's mom took us to go see it. And yes, I fell in love with She-Ra. I had a bow because it was the one male character. Now, was I mad that he was not bulky like my other Masters Universe? Of course. And now am I excited that they finally are going to do that? Yes. But I think those are the two big factors of why I think She-Ra kind of ruined it in a sense. Not ruined it like for everybody, but for some of the people that enjoyed Masters Universe. It wasn't as He-Man. It was like cutesy animals, and then the toys with it were very girl driven. If they would have had She-Ra and the other characters probably in that blue with rocks and kept in line, almost like the Horde came very much like that. So why did the Rebellion characters not? Well, they didn't do too many. Mostly the girls was Flutterina and all those folk came with the pink. That would probably be the two reasons why I would say that. Now, of course, here I am 40 years later. I love all of it. Give me more, give me more, give me more. But again, even now when they're doing these 40th, celebration cartoon collection characters, I'm not going as crazy as I was with the Masters Universe because I didn't have that connection to them the same way. Yeah. And then Jay, let's go back to you since you said you had so much to talk about. I thought you were just going to give it to yourself to start because you're like, oh.
Okay. So first of all, I adore, the Secret of the Sword. I absolutely adore it. I ran out. I'm demagnetized the tape, and I literally demagnetized the tape. I swear to God, that thing. It was such a good movie, and I go back to it every now and then. And I find it fascinating. A lot of people don't realize this. If you watch the Secret of the Sword theatrical version, right? But then if you watch the episodic version that was released later, there's more in the episodes. They actually have small extended scenes, which are awesome. I love that. But B, the soundtrack is completely different. It's weird how that worked. Like you would think that they just would reuse the Sword and the Secret of the Sword soundtrack in the TV series, but they don't. They actually went back and redid the entire soundtrack based on the soundtrack that they were going to use in the television series, which I thought was fascinating. I thought that was absolutely crazy. Like, first of all, in my head, I'm like, doesn't that cost more money to do that? Because you're basically redoing it twice, and I really did feel that was amazing. Now, I prefer the one in the movie, obviously, but having said that, though, I always wanted She-Ra to be the next He-Man, right? Like I thought it was really, really cool. But I have to admit, I wanted He-Man in more episodes. You know what I mean? And the problem with being up here in Canada, the television stations here don't they decided just to drop He-Man completely. Because there were still more episodes of He-Man. It's crazy, right? Because there were still a few more episodes of He-Man after after She-Ra also took a time slot, right? And I never got to see those episodes. You know what I mean? That was very sad. Like I never actually got to see or finish He-Man. I ended up just watching She-Ra for another season. And much like everybody else, eventually the problem with me was I started aging out. You know what I mean? I started going into Thundercats. You know what I mean? I started going to Transformers. The problem was that because I'd been so invested in He-Man, and like you said, Mike and AJ, the toys didn't look the same. They were very different. The card backs were different. They were very and you know what? They were very much leaning towards girls' toys at the end of the day. It wasn't necessarily a problem. The real problem is Horde toys. The evil Horde toys were still on the shelves. You know what I mean? Like they were making Snake Man. They were making what's it called? Mosquitor. They were making brand new Master Universe figures. But the problem is that I kept collecting the Master Universe figures. I did not collect Princess of Power. And the problem was I didn't realize that Princess of Power was She-Ra. Even though in the title it says She-Ra, Princess of Power, it just didn't click because the characters in the show don't look like the characters as toys. That was a huge mistake. And yeah, I get it. He-Man doesn't technically look like the characters in the shows they do but they look just enough like them in the cartoon that you as a kid you're like, okay, I can figure this out, right? Like Spider looks a little bit more ferocious in a toy, but he's still Webstore still looks very ferocious in a toy, but he still looks pretty much kind of I can imagine that, right? The colors are the same, right? Whereas with She-Ra, they got rooted hair, they've got combs, they've got very fantastic outfits. But but Swiftwind does not look like Swiftwind in the cartoon. Like Filmation did not do in that sense. Filmation did a disservice to the toy line because I could not figure that out, right? I didn't even know that they had a Crystal Castle. I didn't even know that was a thing. I found out years ago, and I was like, "What the hell happened?" Like I was like, "All right, that would have been a cool playset, right?" But in terms of, and it was very telling what they were saying in that description. That the head of marketing for Boys Toys at that point said, "Yeah, this killed whatever momentum Master Universe had." I don't know if that's actually true. I think that anyone who actually was still watching Master Universe at the time probably continued to watch it, but there was definitely a clear divide between Master Universe and She-Ra, right, and Princess of Power. I still enjoyed watching Princess of Power when I could, but eventually, because of the deviation, because I couldn't collect any more of the toys the way I thought I was going to collect them, Thundercats came out with this brand new freaking kick-ass intro, and I was like, all right, I'm going to watch this instead. like Lion-O, calling upon the power of Thundera. You know what I mean? It was so similar to Master Universe. I think that's the thing, right? I think many of us felt that Thundercats was like the spiritual successor of Master of the Universe around that time. Because we saw this guy calling, thunder, 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 right? And it's like, oh, that's like, I have the power. And, all of a sudden it's like, all right, that's my new sword magic guy. I'm gonna follow him for a while, right? And then that took off, right? And so a lot of us were enamored with that. And I think that's why this Master Universe cross Thundercats it's capturing everybody's imagination right now. Because people have been wanting this for years. Even after the comic book came out, there was no toy line. So now we're finally seeing this come to fruition. And some people are like, the sculpts are weird. Panther's arms look like monkeys. Like, what's actually going on here? We don't know yet, right? So we're going to find out. But I'm excited for it. And you know what? She-Ra, though, I don't know. I think it really was just missed marketing. I think they just confused their market. I think that's really what it boils down to. They just it wasn't really the funny animals for me. That was not it. It was definitely not the funny animals for me. And AJ, you said it yourself. You like talking animals, man. I like talking animals. I think they're neat. And Disney Afternoon, they do well. It's definitely not for a lack of trying. But I think what ended up happening is they were so different. It was such a departure from Master Universe and such a departure from the toys themselves, which you're supposed to be marketing. If you subscribe to that idea that the cartoons were just there as marketing tools to sell toys, well, Filmation, you fucked up. Okay, like seriously, you went too far off of the character designs that people just did not recognize them anymore. So, and then you know what? I wanted to shoot. I think you know what? I'll be. After talking it out of my head, I think I really figured it out. I wanted a She-Ra that looked like what I saw on the cartoon screen. I wanted that She-Ra, and it took almost 20 years to actually get a She-Ra that looked like what I saw on the cartoon screen. And once that happened, I was like, give me more. Like I need more of these Filmation cartoon editions. Because that's what I wanted. I wanted that She-Ra. And I think if they sold that She-Ra, I think it would have just gone on and on and on. I think that's where I am at this point.
Shame, because he's last.
I'm ready. So you guys have made some really great points here. I have kind of like a split feeling on She-Ra, and it kind of goes to Jay's point, like the show versus the toys. I loved the show, and I had no issues with cutesy talking animals or nothing. I mean, I was watching Strawberry Shortcake, I was watching Care Bears, I was watching Rainbow Bright. I was consuming everything that I could that was animated. That was really even as a kid, more so what I consumed more than the toys. We grew up single mom, poor family. We didn't always get the toys, so it was much more about the shows. But to Jay's point, when you went to the store and you saw the toys, they felt more like dolls than they did like action figures, and they didn't feel it didn't have the epicness that the He-Man line of toys had. And so I wasn't ever drawn to the action figures as a kid, but I loved the show. I also think that, you know, we're talking about the 80s here. It was a completely different time. And in terms of the marketing, it was much more split then than than it is today. Everything is much more open for everyone today, I feel like. And there's a lot of positives in that. And in the 80s and even the 90s, there was a lot of, there was the pink aisle that you went past to get to the action figure aisle when you were a kid. You know what I mean? So I loved the show. I felt, it was a sidestep in terms of the barbarianness of He-Man, the epicness of He-Man, but I enjoyed it all the same. As to whether it killed He-Man, I don't know. To Jay's point, like, Thundercats came around and it was badass. And then, Transformers and Ninja Turtles. And at some point in time, there was a period in my life where He-Man was not my number one. Ninja Turtles was my number one, or whatever it was at that time. And, whether or not it killed it for me or anybody else, I don't know if I have enough information on that to say assuredly, but I do feel like that everything, has a course it runs, and I had moved on to other things by the time that She-Ra was really, really, really coming out.
You gentlemen all bring up good points. There was one point that, I had on the tip of my tongue here, and now that Shane finished, it completely escaped me. Oh, yes, Lou Scheimer, right? The co-founder of the Filmation company who created He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and She-Ra, Princess of Power, basically agrees with you, Jay, and agrees with you, Shane. In his autobiography, he mentions that the big fault was, or the big failure was caused by the action figures itself, that Mattel made a big mistake in not creating the She-Ra action figure line the same way the female characters were created in the Motu line, like Teela, like Evil Lynn. Lou Scheimer believed if those She-Ra characters were created in the same fashion, that the line would have been living on and the boys would have consumed those toys as well. And girls were already buying their Teelas and Evil Lids, so it was already tested with females. And apparently females was a lion's share of the show's audience as well, not just She-Ra, Princess of Power, but He-Man. It was a huge share of that audience. We're talking like 30%, 40%. So Lou Scheimer believes, again, the fault was actually in the figure's design, that they shouldn't have made it more Barbie-like, with the combing of the hair and, and they should have made it in line with the other action figures. So agrees with you two gentlemen. So you're probably, right on. And it's probably also a mixture of things, right? I mean, it's not just one thing, right? Because look at us. All four of us have different opinions, and I'm sure a little bit is true,
The original movie didn't help because it didn't look like the figures either. That was my whole grudge. I hated that movie as a kid. I was like, this isn't He-Man. Why does he have lasers and all this and that? It took me a long time to appreciate that movie. It didn't look like the toys.
But to your point, Jay, with the cartoon collection, I love the She-Ra characters in the cartoon collection. I mean, I buy two of every single one. And right now, I wish I could turn my camera, but I have those actually just some in their packaging, just pinned to the walls. And and yeah, I wish this was the line back in the 80s. But be honest with you, and I'm going to say something sacrilegious, I said this recently to Adam at Battleran Blog. A lot of the Filmation designs I actually preferred to the vintage figures. Oh, yeah, there's your Hordak. Yeah, buddy.
Looks so
Yeah.
good, huh?
He looks so good. Yeah, but Hordak always looked good in the vintage toy. It was the problem with
Just showing, there
She-Ra
you go.
and Catra. Antenna. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, She-Ra. There we go.
Yeah. A little short compared to He-Man, though.
Right.
Looks like you bring your daughter to work day when you have them together. A little frustrated with that.
Yeah, but the animation by Stump Puppet Studios today was just kick ass.
Oh,
I mean,
so good.
Insane. Celebrating the 40th anniversary of She-Ra. Princess of Power, like absolutely. And there are a lot of people who are gonna say you can't have the shield with a sword at the same time. You know what?
It turned into the shield. I wanted to respond to that. I was like, the sword turned into the shield.
Sword turned into everything.
Yeah, but like there was a moment where they were both on screen at the same time, so people are really nitpicky, right? But
guys, in one of the episodes, She-Ra says sword to blanket, and it turns into a blanket.
It can become anything. I mean, like just like anything else, everyone's gonna say, She-Ra's weaker because she needed the sword to do so many different things. He-Man only needed the sword. He-Man could move a planet. I mean, like he could move the moon, like with a Wind Raider. It's like this doesn't make any sense.
If you watch the episode, I think it's called Look He Finds a Way. My favorite She-Ra episode. And it has that little device that Hordak has, his cartoon collection figure, where
it's the time stop
device.
Yeah.
The fact that She-Ra and He-Man are that's the device, Mike. Yeah, that they're equally powered and they have to like fight time. Right. And I love that episode. And you can tell they're equals. And I love the fact that they're equals. And was awesomely voiced by Melindy Britt. You just met her, right, Mike, recently? Got her.
I've met her on several occasions.
Okay.
And the weird thing is I've never like wanted to do a photo op or get her autograph. And I was like, you know what? She's going to be gone soon. God forbid, but let's say in 20 years. Okay. She's gone. Let's put it this way. I've seen her for the last 15 plus years. And for me to go that long and not, I'm like, I talk with her every time. Why am I not taking a photo? Why, obviously I feel stupid because now she charges crazy amount of money for it, where before it was like I probably could have done it for free or very cheap. But I still felt the same way about Alan Oppenheimer. Like I used to see him at PowerCon 2011, 2012, like all these PowerCons, and I never really thought to take a photo. I met Earl Norham and I didn't do a photo, and I'm like, what was I thinking?
Yeah. Well, you think sometimes these people are going to be around forever, and unfortunately they're not. So
well, when you met them, though, I mean, phone cameras weren't the best when you probably met them, right?
That's a good point, Jay.
Right now things are very different, right? I mean, everybody can take a phone and it's like sharp as hell, right? But at the same time, you know what I like to look at it is that they have earned their great prize. You know what I mean? They've earned the right to ask for an autograph and ask for that money. I mean, they brought us such joy over the years. What's $50? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, right? Yeah. So it would have been nice, but at the end of the day, now it's something that they brought so much joy to everybody. Why not? Right? What's
I had no issue with it. I spent way too much money and I loved every second of it.
Just wait to San Diego Comic-Con. So
for sure.
And finally, this is our show and tell segment of the show. Today we asked the group to pick something in our collection that is not Masters of the Universe related. Show it off, tell us what it is and why you love it. And let's start with AJ.
All right, sir. One of my favorite things that I have on my shelf, and I took it and put it beside me here, and it's recent. I have a lot of old stuff too, but it's recent, is the McFarlane Toys DC Direct Batman the Animated Series 30th Anniversary set gold label. Let's see if I can bring this close. We'll make sure we show a picture here. But this is the actual scene. It's a little diorama with a removable Batman, opposable Batman of the title sequence of Batman the Animated Series. My favorite show next to He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and Masters of the Universe Revolution there, Shane. And it even lights up. You're not going to be able to see, but you press a button and the lightning lights up. Because if you ever watch the title sequence, lightning flashes behind the noir buildings. And I just love this show. I love the design. It's a little... The actual build of Batman is a little wider, I think, than what he appeared on screen, but I just love this little set here. So
I think he's actually more in line with Batman and Robin around that time, because the animation department started getting him wider and wider after every season. It's kind of weird. And then when he joined the JLA, he became back to normal. It was very strange.
The one great thing, though, is even during the series, the Batman animated series, you're right, he was a lot more narrow. But and this is exaggerated. However, in that title sequence, when he stands on top of the mountains and you see the lightning flash before it fades to black, his chest looks a lot wider.
You got me there. You got me there. He looks very super, like over exaggerated there.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
Yes. So I love that. So I will now pick Shane.
All right. For mine, I'm going with my Family Matters Urkel speaking doll.
I love it.
I've been collecting the speaking dolls for a little while. Baby Sinclair from Dinosaurs is on my current to-do list. I'm looking for a reasonable one of those. But Family Matters, it's probably a top 3 show for me of all time. Obviously, it was all aboard the Urkel craze, and I love it.
Does he talk? Did I do that? You know.
He does. It doesn't sound great these days. I need a replacement for the speaker, but yeah, he still talks.
Wow. That is awesome.
That's a great piece.
You got to send me a picture of that, Shane.
I will. I'll send you.
I was not expecting that. That was way out there. That one got me.
I got something way out there too. I didn't go that. Maybe next time I'll go way out.
Yeah, I was gonna go with something else, and then my girlfriend was like, "No, you got to go with the Urkel doll," and I was like, "Oh, you're right."
That's awesome.
Cool. I'll pass it to Jay.
So yeah, guys, for my show and tell, I got to say that my absolute favorite toy that's in my collection has to be Voltron, the Defender of the Universe. This thing is just absolutely massive. I always wanted the Matchbox version, which my cousins had, but my parents, they this thing was prohibitively expensive at the time, because it was literally, I don't know if you guys remember, but it either came in the deluxe gift set, which was this gigantic box, which had Matchbox on it, or it came in these separate sets, like the two green, the red and the green line came together, the two yellow and blue line came separately, and of course the black line came by himself. But no matter which way you slice it, it was expensive. So I never actually got this. They did it when they started re-releasing the videos in the 90s. Toynami got the license, and I was able to pick up this big guy. And they released 2 versions. One was a plastic version, which sucked butt. This is the die-cast version, which is nice and heavy and really beautiful. You can see the chrome in the legs and everything like that. And one thing that the Toynami version had an advantage to the Matchbox version is, for whatever reason, Matchbox decided that weapons are not allowed for kids. It's kind of like what McFarlane and DC decided that guns were not allowed in the DC multiverse. So this one actually came with his blazing sword, which did not come with the original Matchbox version, and that was such a shame, because like this is signature to Voltron. If you don't have this, it's not Voltron. Like that's and that's why many people are in the 80s. They would go to China. They would go to Chinatown, and they would find the original Popey version, which had been imported multiple times, or bootleg versions of Popey, right? And you'd see this Go Lion thing, and people would just be buying those sets, which had all the weapons, all the shoulder cannons, all the stuff, the blazing sword, and of course it had the blazing shield, right? So this was a definitive set for Toynami. And I'm kicking myself because I should have kept the box. I don't know. The box is long gone. I wish I kept the box. It had this crappy CG version of Voltron, which looked terrible. But honestly, I'd kill for that box right now. I really would. So my favorite of show and tell. There we go. Voltron, Defender of the Universe.
Awesome. I'm jealous. All right, it's Mike.
Okay, well, if we have time, I actually have a funny story about Voltron from when I was a kid. So, as a kid, I had a Voltron. He was die-cast. I don't know what it might have been, the mesh box, but he didn't come apart. It was all just Voltron, like he didn't break down into the lions. As a kid, I was really into wrestling, and I had all my action figures in a giant wrestling federation. Voltron was a longtime world champion, and I put him up against the LJN Hulk Hogan. Okay. They had an epic battle that was a falls count anywhere. So this battle went all the way into my backyard, and I took my Voltron and I took LJN Hogan and just chucked him in the air as like a super slam. Of course, die cast hits concrete, just shattered. My dad came out furious. Like, did you know how much that cost? And I was like, he just went for the super slam. I don't know what happened. Yeah, sad to say that was the last Voltron I ever owned. But as far as my show and tell, this was actually a hard one for me. If you follow along, I most of my collection is in storage other than my little Motu setup here. So I did go to my storage unit yesterday. I was looking specifically for something to show you guys, and I couldn't find it. So I'll lead with that. I was looking for my Chuck Norris Karate Commando action figure.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool.
If there's another line other than Masters of the Universe that I would love to collect fully, it's that line. It's 8 figures and a car. Pretty easy. I could probably get the whole set for under $1,000 cart. Yeah, I actually told my wife when I was looking for it the other day, I was like, I think I'm going to find that one for the show and tell. I'm like, I kind of want to start collecting it again. And she's like, oh, God. I was like, don't worry. There's an end game to this one. It's not like Origins where it's just going to keep pumping more out. But what I did find, and this is very dear to my heart. Again, if you know me, I love sports. I don't know if you guys are big sports fans.
Football.
But I am a Miami Dolphins fan, specifically Dan Marino. Bear down.
Bear down. Chicago Bears. And I'm Philadelphia Eagles.
Hey, I'm excited for you guys getting a new head coach and see what he can do.
What about you excited about my Super Bowl win? That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I've had, of course, this is 1997, so I would have been in high school when this guy came out, junior in high school.
I love those lineup figures.
Yeah, go Fins. Fins up.
That's awesome. And hopefully we keep doing this, guys. We'll keep showing ones. And, I also is a fun topic is also, at least when we were kids, the toys that got away, because unless I don't know if you guys were any different, but there were a lot of toys that I wanted as a kid, but never got.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir, man. Like, come on, let's be honest.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if one of you guys were from, what's that show, Silver Spoons, Ricky Schroeder got everything. I remember watching that show and just being enamored because I used to love the Dragon's Lair arcade game, and there in his arcade, their living room or playroom, there was a Dragon's Lair arcade game. I was like, luckiest kid in the world. And they had Carlton in that show from Fresh Prince. Yeah. So hopefully you can find that Chuck Norris one, Mike.
Yeah. I'll try to dig it up.
Yeah, the next time we do this. So. All right, gentlemen, I think we went past our term here. Do we have any? Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. So, does anyone have any quick plugs they want to make before we sign off?
So, guys, you know, I just want to bring a little bit of attention to this. I really do feel that this is a movie that I want to see for myself. I'm being a little bit selfish here, but honestly, Daniel is a great director, and the trailer that I saw for this film absolutely blew me away. And of course, if you saw the very first film, you'll notice that it is a work of love. You know, and the first film was a very, 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 very much an amateur film done, you know, with people who just had more passion than they had experience. And fast forward, you know, almost 10 years later, and wow, it's amazing how far they've come. I encourage everybody to see the trailer. It's absolutely epic. And if you do have the means and are interested in helping support this film, please definitely consider checking out The Fall of Grayskull 2 relaunch. They didn't make it the first time. They're trying for a second time, and they're already 51% towards their goal. They have 48 days left. And I want to thank everybody here for letting me talk a little bit about this. It's a bit of a selfish little thing for me, but I really do appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much. And if you are interested, please check out The Fall of Grayskull 2 on Kickstarter. Thanks, guys.
Hey, I backed it, Jay. I love it.
I'm all in. I am all in.
I love passionate fans, you know, and I personally love fan films. So for me, please visit foreternia.com for all the latest Masters of the Universe news, content, and community. We have a great community forum over there. People still, you know, actually respond and communicate in community forums. It's not just social media pages. So, you know, be sure to visit us at foreternia.com if you haven't. Anybody else?
You can find me on YouTube, my at Eternia Royalty. It's kind of dead in the water at the moment, but I'm trying to revive it. Definitely on Instagram. That's kind of where my bread and butter is. Eternia Royalty on Instagram. I post daily, lots of what we're talking about here, behind the scenes stuff going on with the movie, everything Masters of the Universe. I'm posting on there.
I'll leave you guys with go get on Netflix. We've got a few shows on Netflix. We've got Masters of the Universe Revolution. We've got Castlevania Nocturne. We have Seis Manos. We have Tomb Raider. We have Skull Island. We have Blood of Zeus. Go watch them. They're fun shows.
They are.
I watched that Castlevania. It was really good. Yeah,
I love them. Honestly, like everything you guys do is just intense. I love it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's it. Want to thank everyone for watching. This is AJ.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jay.
And old Shaner.
And we're signing off.